Hey, Cancer. Hello. Welcome to January 2020. We made it. New year, new decade, new us. Beautiful. I'm pulling from my Mystic Mondays tarot deck. I got it at Urban Outfitters, so you know it works. And yeah, I'm keeping it simple because this is going to be a huge year for us. In a beautiful way, in a very positive way. But nonetheless, let's just not try to overcomplicate it right off the bat. So I pulled for you previously some energies, and I'd like to talk about them with you now. And then I'll pull a little bit more too, just so you get like some fresh cards. So I got the Seven of Cups in reverse. We got the Six of Swords in reverse. Got the Six of Cups in reverse. Got that Hierophant. Got the Ace of Cups, beautiful. We got the Three of Wands, also beautiful. Good energies. And we got the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So, maybe we can talk about these sevens, we can talk about the Hierophant. For me, Hierophant is like back to school vibes. For me, I literally am in grad school, so I will be going back to grad school. The Hierophant is kind of, my dog is finding a new seat for herself. I'm petting her. Okay. So, what was I saying about the Hierophant? School. Duh. Or whatever. Corporate ladders, marriages, basically any institution, secret societies, the government. Like, to me, I mean, look, it's like the Illuminati pyramid. In this deck, very clear what this is to me. And I'm the one interpreting these cards, and therefore, that's what we're going with. Yeah, I just feel like Cancer, whatever it is that you have already been dealing with, you are continuing to do so, continuing to ask yourself those questions, probably about what you're doing there, or how you're defining yourself in relationship to this Hierophant, because I could go on a long ass rant about the Hierophant, and I'll try to keep it relevant to what else is going on for us. So, in particular, with the Hierophant, like, we got the Seven of Pentacles, and the thing about the structures or organizations, cults, etc., that we find ourselves in our lives, it's like the system itself has its own set of rules, its own parameters, its own guidelines, its own kind of like, you do this, then you do this. So you're not, like, when you're dealing with the Hierophant energy, you're not necessarily just like, living in a field, like frolicking, like just doing whatever creative acts come to you. You're kind of having to mold yourself a little bit to them. You're having to fit into their box. And that can be totally great for some people, because some people, that is... And it's kind of crazy, actually, but it's like, think about, like, water loves to be contained. Although I don't necessarily associate that with water energies. Sometimes water gets stagnant when it's contained and it wants to be let free. Or fire is hard to contain. Or is it? You can make a little bonfire, and then you kind of like let the fire do itself in that little... I'm just saying, think about your element, think about structures, think about how you can or can't be contained by kind of like the shape you find yourself in, because all of that is relevant to the Seven of Pentacles being in reverse. This is like you creating your life's work. This is not just like creative projects or, business accounts. Like, Pentacles are like just the material foundation that we're building in the physical world. So it's like basically all this shit that we'll leave behind when we die type of shit. It's kind of like the imprint we are trying to make about our existence. That's really sort of what it is. So, I mean, when you're thinking about what it is that you're doing here, you might also be finding, like, that some of the shit you're trying to do doesn't grow. And why does it not grow? Well, oh my god, all this stuff. So it's not, like, growing maybe because it's just not where it belongs. Like, you wouldn't try to grow a pineapple in Minnesota. I mean, you could definitely make it happen. People have grown pineapples in Minnesota. But if you're not, if, it's just basically my point is, like, if the environment is not necessarily where you flourish, this is not an indication of your ability to, like, actually build a garden that is beautiful and abundant. It's just you have to think about where you're trying to plant your seeds. So maybe you don't, and like what I said about, like, being in a structure and, like, water getting stagnant, or like fire can sometimes, like, get out of control if it's not contained, right? Like, I'm a little bit, like, channeling, like, really in a lot of messages at once, so bear with me. But I think that what we're talking about, generally speaking, for January is being open to the fact, first of all, not judging yourself for your success or perceived lack of success, because it doesn't have everything to do with you or your potential or your abilities. It partly has to do about you needing to leave, I personally think, this behind a little bit, or if you can't leave it behind, thinking about how you can create kind of your own, like, ways of cultivating yourself. So, like, what I was talking about, like, let's say this is Minnesota. Let's say this is the pineapple. And then with the Six of Swords, we're talking about, well, I'm not just going to rely on this space to help this growth with the pineapple. I'm going to have to not just put it in the ground outside where it's snowing. I'm going to have to build maybe a little greenhouse in my room. And I'm going to have to maybe buy some special kind of, like, lamps that mimic the sun. And I'm going to have to make that space warm for the pineapple so that it feels, even though it's, like, kind of in a artificial environment, it's still in one that feeds its needs and for growth. I'm saying that about you. You're the pineapple in Minnesota. Oh my god. I dropped a card. I'll find it. Oh, here it is. Okay. This is what the month of January is going to feel like, Cancer. It's going to feel like you're a little bit, in the right place at the same time as you're not in the right place. And I think you know that by now. I think you know what you've been dealing with. But that's the Six of Swords energy to me. It's like you're not leaving. Oh my god, whatever. It's like you're not leaving Minnesota, you're not leaving your environment, you're not leaving the place that you're at. But you do have this sense and this knowing of your success will not come from this place. And so in order to make that work for you, you're going to have to kind of create your own internal way of supporting and soothing and, like, giving yourself validation and, like, creating your own opportunities, because you do need to move on from it, but you might be just kind of like that stagnant water in the box, right? You know you need to get in a flow, but, like, until that opportunity arises, you need to figure out how to, like, deal with the sense of stagnancy that you're in and maybe create kind of that plan for, like, what is next. So I think this is, like, a little bit of you thinking about your life big picture. Like, you're thinking about, okay, I'm here now in this environment where I can't totally flourish and grow, but I am making my own kind of internal adjustments so that I can do as well as I possibly could given where I'm at. I.e. that greenhouse in Minnesota, kind of as the metaphor. So the Three of Wands, though, is thinking about, like, where you're gonna go in the long run, like, where you're headed towards, like, where you can, like, really, like, lay down actual roots. Where can you go that you can be planted into the ground and succeed and, like, become your, like, true self, or, like, give the world your gifts that you have to give. So Three of Wands is not necessarily having the answers, but I think it's definitely asking yourself those questions. Six of Cups in reverse. I think this is a little bit of, like, letting go of your nostalgia in a positive way. I know, especially as Cancers, we are very, very, very obsessed with the past. Like, we just are, and we're obsessed with the past to the extent that I think some of us are starting to be able to time travel now. I think I can time travel. And we always go back into the past. We're always there, we're always hanging out there, and like not even just our own past, but like other people's pasts. Like we're kind of like nosy in that way. Which, or not nosy, but just like we're curious about how things were and like how we got to where we are. And that's all well and good, but we're really here in the present moment, and we're really headed towards the future. So with the Six of Cups, and again, as I was saying with the Three of Wands, thinking about where you can go to really grow. Anyway, I think that's us just being like, okay, I gotta, kind of let this go. This romanticizing of the past a little bit, because that's keeping me stuck there. When I think about how great things used to be, I'm always like somewhere that doesn't really exist anymore. I'm kind of in this illusion, this fantasy, and I'm not really giving myself opportunities to move forward and kind of find new happy memories that I can get nostalgic about one day. So that's going on for us. With the Seven of Cups in reverse, I feel like we actually maybe are getting a little bit clear. Holy shit. But we're getting clear slowly. Like, someone said this recently, which I will repeat. I think it was in Noah Lampert's podcast, Synchronicity. But, because I've been listening to that a lot. But, like, basically it's about, like, pulling things away from, instead of, like, adding on. So, it is kind of about keeping things simple. So, like, i.e. the fact that I, who've been doing a lot of oracle cards in the past, I'm not doing those this time. I'm just doing the tarot. It's like, I love oracle cards. They're a lot of fun, but they also kind of can color the whole reading instead of maybe just finding, like, and not that that's bad, but, like, I'm just saying, like, we're talking about keeping things simple. We're talking about, like, pulling away what is excess. People sometimes don't, I mean, I don't edit these tarot videos, obviously, but, like, even think about how I've been rambling and how maybe you, a person who isn't channeling divine messages and is just listening, might be like, come on, bitch, get to the point. Like, just say what you're gonna say. And, like, stop with all this word salad and, like, you know, hemming and hawing before you get to the point. Just say what you want to say. Right? Seven of Cups is, like, getting out of that. It's like, well, what I'm trying to say is I don't need to be complicated or fancy to do good work or to know what I'm doing or to have the messages I want to say. As, like, then when I have something important to say, the resonance of it has, like, a bigger impact and it stays with us, and it is, like, a little bit more deliberate, and that makes it resonate stronger than when it's just kind of hiding in, like, all this mess. So this is pulling away kind of the messy part of our lives that maybe we've been dealing with that we don't need to be dealing with that much after all. So honestly, that could be, like, kind of what I'm picking up is, like, friends that aren't really friends. Not, like, cutting people out of your life, nothing that dramatic. Not like, it's not saying, like, fuck you forever, or even getting in a fight. It's just like, oh, you know what, like, I'll let them kind of do their thing, I'll do my thing. I don't need to give so much attention or importance to that person. Let them live their lives, I'll live my life. Because we don't need to force that relationship, but we also don't need to be, like, angry about that relationship. We can just kind of, like, let that relationship become less and less important in our consciousness. That's kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying it's like not giving so much of your power away, not diluting your message so much, not doubting yourself, getting a little bit clearer about things so that things just maybe can get into a flow. Whew. I really feel like the Ace of Cups is not, like, sometimes this can be love, but it's definitely having our own cups filled, our own cup filled. It's like really feeling like emotionally stable. And that for us as Cancers, especially as such like a water sign, and like being on the shore of the beach when like being kind of ruled by these tides all the time, to feel that stability and kind of like the constancy and the kind of like getting the hang and the rhythm of something, that can feel a little bit new to us almost. And that has a lot to do with us just kind of like learning how to navigate our ebbs and flows in an organic way where we're not trying to force our own rhythms in a certain way, but are just kind of like going with them. And so we like are learning to not be judgmental about what we need. So like, I really need rest. I really need to just binge a lot of podcasts. I really just need to like consume television shows. Some people might be fucking judgy about that. They might be like, oh, you should really be working, or blah blah blah, or like that's like a time suck, or but it's like if it like genuinely is rejuvenating for me, why wouldn't I? Because when you honor yourself and your own needs, regardless of honestly, whatever it is, it's like really like finding this non-judgmental part of yourself that honors exactly what it is that what you need, and does not like look for outside permission or acceptance or approval to have that thing that you need for your own well-being. That's the Ace of Cups to me. And if love comes with that as part of the package deal of you loving yourself, sure, great, awesome. But I really think, again, that this is like you finally like really getting a hang of self-nurturing. And I don't mean that in like a marketable self-care way. I mean like just not judging yourself for anything. And like seeing what that lack of judgment towards you ultimately brings. I'm just pulling. Oh, nice. Well, I'm hopeful for us, Cancer, to be honest. In terms of love, particularly. Especially those of us that are single. Whoops. I pulled the Fool. This does feel like a very new, fresh beginning and chapter that's very fun and exciting, and like I think our curiosity is piqued. I mean, we're doing a lot of like big question asking a little bit in the foundations of this reading. We're doing a lot of big questions, wondering where we're going, but I think with the Fool energy popping up, it's like, and what I talked about with the Ace of Cups and like the self-love, filling your own cup, not judging yourself for any reason at all, the non-judgment, I really feel like there's just sort of this excitement and this openness about what the path is and where it's going, and like just really enjoying yourself with like all of these like kind of like little new beginnings matriculating in, and kind of like, you know, you are, I think, getting glimpses of that bigger picture of where this is all headed. And with the Seven of Cups pulling away the excess, you're really kind of, I think, getting some clarity and some points about, you know, the excitement of how this is leading you to beautiful new adventures. And with the Knight of Pentacles, I feel like there's someone kind of guiding you in this process. Could be a dude or a girl, doesn't matter, but I feel like this person is bringing in a lot of stability. Not to say that you needed that other person to fill your own cup, but I certainly think as a result of this, you're kind of able to maybe ease into something that would have been uncomfortable for you before. Like, I'm just saying, this is something that maybe is arriving because you're got a stronger sense of yourself. I think it's easy for us to lose ourselves in relationships and then get insecure and like nervous about them when we're still learning how to do this kind of Ace of Cups work. But having gotten there and, like, figured out, like, oh, yeah, I got me all the time and I love me, I'm fucking great, I think it's easier to then hang out with someone and not have that shift your energy so much. Like, you're not so, like, dependent in a way, and interdependent more. So, but the Knight of Pentacles feels like you're bringing some stability, maybe some sense of constancy that hasn't been there, and really with a Knight too, like kind of like laying some foundations, like early stages of, you know, a partnership, or kind of like getting curious about the new directions you can both go in together, perhaps. Perhaps. I mean, if it's not romantic love, then I still think it's like a friend who is by your side, who kind of like gives you a little support, really, honestly. Just like someone showing up, someone showing that they care, someone showing that, like, you're not alone in this. I think we all kind of need that sometimes. And I think the Knight of Pentacles is a very natural complement to us as water signs. Like, earth and water, I mean, the earth needs the water. You're needed, and you like to feel needed because you're a Cancer and you're needy. And so, yes, even though you've, like, been healing some of that neediness, it's still good to, like, share the abundance of you. Full new beginnings, blah, blah. Beautiful, great, fantastic. Very fresh start to the year. Feels like a very, very, like, cool January. With lots of, like, things clicking into place. And, like, kind of some sense of, like, where the road is headed. Like, seeing a little bit in front of you in a positive way, where you're like, oh, okay, I feel like I'm getting the hang of this. Alright. So I love you. And I'll see you later. Like and subscribe and all that. And I do offer personal readings. And, yeah, you're beautiful and I love you. And thanks for tuning in. Bye.